So, welcome back to the deep dive. We've got a really fascinating one for you today. We are transporting you to a place where the line between the silver screen and the ballot box isn't just blurred, it practically doesn't exist.
Yeah, it really doesn't.
Right. We are talking about Tamil Nadu, India. And honestly, if you tried to pitch the political history of this state as a movie script in Hollywood, the producers would probably just reject it for being completely unrealistic.
Oh, absolutely. It's a fascinating ecosystem. It really is. If you look at the history of Tamil Nadu, you just cannot separate the cinema halls from the legislative assembly. It's almost impossible. You've had, I think, 5 chief ministers who came directly from the world of film. You had the scriptwriter C.N. Anadurai, the matinee idol M.G. Ramachandran, or MGR, his successor J. Jayalalitha, and of course the writer M. Karunanidhi.
It's like if Hollywood ran Washington, D.C., but for 50 years straight.
You can imagine.
If Ronald Reagan wasn't an anomaly, but basically the standard operating procedure. And that brings us to the present moment. Today is Friday, February 20th, 2026. The state assembly elections in Tamil Nadu are looming incredibly large right now. And there is a new superstar in the arena who thinks he can, rewrite the script once again.
That's right. We are talking about C. Joseph Vijay. To his millions of fans, he is simply Vijay, or even more affectionately, Philanthropy, which translates to the commander.
The commander, yeah. And he has launched a political party called Tamilaga Vetri Kazhagam, or TVK for short. And the big question everyone is asking right now, the thing we really want to unpack for you today, is whether this is just fan hysteria or if this is a genuine political realignment. Because for the last half century, Tamil Nadu has been ruled by just 2 parties, the DMK and the ADMK.
Yeah, it's a very entrenched duopoly.
Exactly. And Vijay is trying to break it. He's claiming to be this third pole.
It is the superstar's gambit. And the stakes couldn't be higher here. We are weeks away from the voting booths opening. The established powers are noticeably nervous, the youth are energized, and political analysts are just scrambling to make sense of the data we're seeing.
So our mission today is to unpack this entire phenomenon for you. We've got a massive stack of source material here. We're looking at reports from his recent massive rallies in Salem and Vikravandi. We have some really good deep dive analyses on his party's whole political architecture.
Which is surprisingly robust, yeah.
Right, very robust. We also have a research paper forecasting the 2026 election data. And crucially, we have the grim reports on the tragedy that nearly derailed his entire campaign in Karur.
We need to understand not just what is happening, but why. Why right now? What is this secular social justice ideology he keeps talking about? And, can a man who has spent his life memorizing lines actually manage the chaotic reality of state administration?
Let's dive right in. And I want to start with the evolution.
Yeah.
Because looking at the sources, Vijay didn't just wake up yesterday and decide to run for chief minister, did he?
No, absolutely not. And this is a very common misconception. People see the massive rallies now in 2026 and think this is an overnight sensation. But if you look at the timeline in our sources, the foundation was actually laid way back in July 2009.
2009. That's over 15 years ago.
Exactly. That is when he transformed his fan clubs into the Vijay Makal Iyakam, or VMI, that translates to Vijay's People Movement. At the time, it looked like just another fan welfare organization, organizing blood donation drives, helping the poor, that sort of typical charity thing. But in hindsight, it was clearly an incubator.
It was a training ground.
Precisely. He was actively converting fans who cheer in theaters into cadres who can actually organize on the ground. It's a very deliberate shift in psychology. You go from being a passive consumer of entertainment to an active participant in a movement. And the proof of concept and the moment where everyone really should have realized this was serious came in 2021.
You're talking about the local body elections.
Yes. Now, usually in India, if you run as an independent without a major party symbol, you get totally crushed. It's just how the political machine works. But the VMI functionaries ran as independents. They didn't even have a formal party symbol yet. And they won 115 out of the 169 seats they contested.
That is a staggering strike rate for independents.
It really was the signal. It proved that fan power could be mathematically converted into political capital. It wasn't just about whistling at the screen anymore. These people could actually win votes at the local ward level. They could convince their neighbors. And that is a very different skill set than just buying a movie ticket.
So that leads us directly to the formal launch. February 2nd, 2024. The party is officially born. Tamilnadu Vetri Kazhagam.
And notice the branding shift there. He moved from the star fan dynamic to a clear leader cadre structure.
Okay.
But there was a very specific move he made right around this time that really caught my eye in the reports. It's what the analysis calls the sovereign move.
Right. This is regarding his father.
Yes. S.A. Chandrasekhar, he's a legendary film director, and he essentially steered Vijay's film career for years. He was the architect of the early days. But politically, Vijay initiated a strict legal separation to ensure the party remained under his own direct control.
That is fascinating to me because usually in Indian politics, and especially in the South, it's all about the family dynasty. You bring the family in, you have the sons, the nephews, the daughters running things, but he actively pushed the family out.
He had to signal a clean break. He had to show the electorate that he wasn't just his father's son and that the party wasn't just another family business. It was a clear signal of autonomy. The analyst noted it was almost Shakespearean. He had to metaphorically kill the father to become the king.
And then came the final, ultimate commitment. He announced his absolute retirement from cinema.
That's the big one, his 69th film, Jana Nayagan. He stated publicly that it would be his last.
Let's just pause on that for a second because this isn't just a career pivot. This is financial suicide in a way.
Think about the financial implications. He is one of the highest paid actors in all of India. We are talking about walking away from paychecks that are in the tens of millions of dollars, walking away from that massive guaranteed income to jump into the mud of state politics. It signals to the voter that he is all in. There is no safety net. He is burning the boats.
It tells the voter, I need this job because I don't have another one to fall back on.
Exactly. It creates a sense of agency and genuine commitment that you simply don't get from a politician who is just moonlighting or doing it as a vanity project.
Okay, so he clearly has the commitment and he has the history and the ground game building up since 2009. But what does he actually believe in? I mean, every politician says they want to help the people, but looking at the source material, he has a very specific ideological phrase. He calls it secular social justice. What does that actually mean in the context of Tamil Nadu?
This is where the strategy gets really interesting and, frankly, quite brilliant. Tamil Nadu politics relies on two massive ideological pillars. You have Dravidianism and you have Tamil nationalism.
And usually, those are seen as two distinct, sometimes opposing tracks, right?
Often, yes. Dravidianism focuses heavily on social justice, caste eradication, and a distinct Southern identity rooted in rationalism. Tamil nationalism, on the other hand, focuses much more on the linguistic and ethnic identity of the Tamil people. Vijay describes these as the two eyes of the soil. He wants to synthesize them. He wants to bridge that historical divide.
He's trying to have his cake and eat it too.
In a way, yes, but look at the icons he has officially chosen for his party's pantheon. It is a very carefully curated list. He has Periyar, Ambedkar, Kamaraj, Beluna Nachiyar, and Anjalaya Mal.
Let's unpack that list for the listener because it's super important. Periyar is essentially the father of the Dravidian movement. But Periyar was also a very staunch atheist. He broke idols. He was a radical figure.
And this is where Vijay introduces nuance. He adopts Periyar for the social justice and caste eradication elements, but the party explicitly decouples Periyar from his anti-God or atheistic stance.
I see. Because he doesn't want to alienate the religious voters.
Yeah, exactly. He is threading a very fine needle. He's effectively saying, I want the social progress and equality of Periyar, but I respect your religious faith. It is a strategic move to keep the religious Hindu voters comfortable while still appealing to the core Dravidian base. It's a modernized, significantly less abrasive version of the traditional ideology.
And then he brings in B.R. Ambedkar.
Central to the platform, Ambedkar represents constitutional rights and Dalit upliftment. By placing Ambedkar front and center, Vijay is signaling directly to the Dalit community, who are a massive voting bloc in the state, that he is their champion against caste oppression. This is crucial because often the intermediate castes and the Dalits are in political conflict. Vijay is trying to unite them under this broad banner of social justice.
And Kamaraj, where does he fit in?
Kamaraj is the nostalgia play. He represents what many see as the golden age of honest, transparent administration in Tamil Nadu. Evoking Kamaraj is a direct, albeit polite, critique of current political corruption. It's shorthand for saying, remember when politicians weren't stealing your money? I'm going to bring that era back.
And I noticed in the reports that he has included female icons too, Beluna Nachiyar and Anjalaya Mal.
That is highly significant. TVK is the first major party to institutionalize these female historical figures as core ideological icons. It is a direct, calculated pitch for the women's vote bank. Traditionally, that vote was a massive stronghold for the AIDMK under Jayalalitha. But with Jayalalitha gone, that entire demographic is up for grabs. He is telling the women of Tamil Nadu, I see your history and I respect your strength.
The visual symbolism is pretty strong too, backing up this ideology.
Hmm.
At the Vikravandi conference, the reports mentioned he had books presented on stage. He had the Bhagavad Gita, the Bible, the Quran, and the Indian Constitution all displayed together.
It's visual shorthand for secular. He's literally putting them all on the exact same pedestal. But notice what was missing from the visuals.
What was missing?
The color black.
Really? No black at all.
Yes. The traditional Dravidian parties, like the DMK or the DK, their flags always prominently feature black and red. Black represents the rejection of degradation. It's a somber reminder of the Aryan invasion theory and the dark skin of the Dravidians. It's inherently a color of protest. But Vijay's flag is dark red and yellow.
No black.
No black. He is signaling, I am Dravidian adjacent, but I am entirely distinct. He is shedding the heavy baggage and the grievance politics of the past century while trying to keep the core values. He wants the optimism and dawn represented by yellow rather than the protest represented by black.
It's basically a rebranding of Dravidian politics for Gen Z.
That is a perfect way to put it. It's the iPhone version of the ideology. Sleeker, more user-friendly, but fundamentally running on the same operating system.
So he has the brand, he has the ideology sorted. Now let's transition to the strategy, because you can't just have a nice flag and good ideas. You actually need to win seats. And the reports show he dropped a massive bombshell regarding political alliances.
The power-sharing gambit. This was the moment all the political pundits really sat up and took frantic notes.
Explain that to us. Why is offering to share power considered a gambit?
Traditionally, in Tamil Nadu, you have a very strict Big Brother culture. The DMK or the ADMK leads an alliance. They might graciously give a few seats to smaller parties like the Congress or the VCK to contest. But if the alliance wins, the Big Brother forms the cabinet entirely by themselves. The allies support the government from the outside. They do not get ministerial berths. They do not get to sit at the high table of power.
So the DMK rules alone, even if they absolutely needed those smaller allies to win the majority.
Correct. That's the established culture. But Vijay publicly invited potential allies to actually share power in a coalition government. He said, come with us and you can be in the cabinet.
That's a huge carrot to dangle in front of these smaller parties.
It directly challenges the hegemony of the big two. It basically says to the smaller parties, why be a servant in the DMK's house when you can be a full partner in mine?
And how did that go down with the establishment? The reports detail some pretty strong reactions.
Well, the DMK hated it. Chief Minister Stalin rejected the idea immediately, stating publicly that it is, quote, not Tamil Nadu's political culture.
Which is basically code for, we do not want to share our power.
Precisely. But the Congress party, they were very intrigued. You have Congress MPs like Manikam Tagore openly expressing interest in the reports. You have to remember, the Congress hasn't held actual power in Tamil Nadu since 1967. That is an incredibly long time to be sitting on the sidelines. The idea of holding ministerial portfolios again is very tempting for them.
Yeah, what about the VCK?
The VCK leader, Thurma Vivalaban, is being cautious, but you can see the offer puts immense pressure on the DMK alliance. It creates friction.
But that's the goal, right?
Exactly. Even if these parties don't jump ship to join TVK, it makes the DMK's life much harder. It gives the smaller parties massive leverage at the negotiation table. It disrupts the status quo.
We also have to talk about the man operating in the back room here, Prashant Kishore.
The master strategist himself, yes. He appeared at a TVK event in February 2025, and Vijay publicly referred to him as his brother. Now, Prashant Kishore, or PK, is the guy who has managed winning campaigns for Narendra Modi, for Mamata Banerjee, for Jagan Reddy. The man knows how to win elections.
And Kishore gave a very interesting cricket analogy during that event, didn't he? It's highlighted in our source back.
He did. He compared Vijay to MS Dhoni. He said, if Sunil Gavaskar's son played, we wouldn't have had Dhoni.
Breaking down dynastic politics right there.
Exactly. He is framing Vijay as the meritocratic, self-made newcomer who is breaking the entrenched dynasty of the DMK. You have to remember, the DMK is currently led by MK Stalin, who is the son of Karunanidhi. And Stalin's son, Udhayanidhi, is currently the deputy chief minister. It is a direct lineage. Kishore is asking the voters, do you want the prince who inherited the throne, or do you want the player who actually earned his spot on the field?
And Vijay is actively framing this upcoming election, 2026, as a revolutionary year. He keeps bringing up the years 1967 and 1977 in his speeches.
Right, because 1967 was when the DMK officially dethroned the Congress Party. And 1977 was when MGR dethroned the DMK. These were years where the entire political chessboard of the state was flipped over. Vijay is saying 2026 is the next date on that historical list. He is positioning TVK as the ultimate agent of generational change. He's basically saying history happens every 40 years or so in this state, and it is time for the next wave.
It sounds like he's building a perfect storm.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a very big but here. It hasn't all been smooth sailing. We have to address the tragedy in Karur.
Yes, we cannot gloss over this at all. September 27th, 2025. This was the moment that nearly ended the entire TVK campaign before it even really began.
Set the scene for us based on the incident reports.
It happened on the Karur Road Highway. The venue for the rally was officially permitted for 10,000 people.
But how many actually showed up?
Estimates vary wildly, but the reports say anywhere from 27,000 to 50,000 people crowded into that space. It was vastly, dangerously overcrowded.
And the result was just horrific.
41 dead, including several children, over 100 seriously injured. It was a massive crowd crush, a stampede. It turned what was supposed to be a political celebration into a graveyard in a matter of minutes.
What exactly went wrong, aside from just the sheer numbers exceeding the permit?
It was a cascading failure of logistics. The official police report explicitly accused the TVK organizers of deliberately delaying Vijay's arrival by 4 hours to, quote, exhibit political strength.
So they wanted the crowd to build up and look massive for the cameras.
That is the core allegation. They wanted the optics of a massive, restless ocean of people waiting for their leader. They wanted that perfect drone shot that proves just how popular he is. But when you keep 50,000 people waiting in the sweltering heat for 4 hours, restlessness inevitably turns into exhaustion and then panic.
And the infrastructure just wasn't there to handle it.
Not at all. There were no buffer zones. There were incredibly narrow entry and exit points. When the crush happened, ambulances were blocked by the crowd itself. And when Vijay finally did arrive incredibly late at 7:40 p.m. instead of the afternoon, his convoy was completely mobbed. It was total chaos.
The aftermath must have been brutal for the party leadership.
It was devastating. Legally, the TVK General Secretary, N. Endond, was booked for culpable homicide. A formal CBI inquiry was ordered. But politically, it gave his rivals the ultimate weapon to use against him.
Right, the argument being, if you can't manage a rally, how on earth will you manage a state?
Exactly. The DMK and the ADMK just hammered him on competence. It pierced that untouchable aura of the savior. It laid bare their organizational immaturity. It made ordinary people ask, is this a serious government in waiting, or is this just a highly disorganized, dangerous fan club?
How did Vijay respond to the crisis?
He completely paused the campaign. He personally visited the victims in the hospitals. He offered significant compensation, 2 million rupees to the families of the deceased. And when he eventually resumed campaigning, he had to follow incredibly strict court-mandated protocols regarding crowd size and event timing.
Yeah, it seems like he has managed to recover some momentum since then, looking at the recent rallies. But that scar is permanently part of his political history now.
It absolutely is. And it raises a lingering question for the voter. Is this party actually ready for governance? Can they handle the complex logistics of real power?
Let's shift gears and look at the numbers. Because at the end of the day, politics is just math. We have 3 main blocks going into this 2026 election. Let's break them down.
Right. Block 1 is the DMK alliance. They are the clear frontrunners. They have the deep organization, the power of incumbency, and they've rolled out numerous popular welfare schemes. But their richness as anti-incumbency people naturally get tired of the same face after a while, and that growing friction with their allies that we discussed.
And block 2.
That's the ADMK, BJP, and PMK alliance. They represent the consolidated opposition. But the ADMK still suffers from severe leadership issues post-Jayalalitha. They are a strong machine, but the question is, are they inspiring enough to win?
Which brings us to block 3, the disruptor. This is the TVK and the NTK factor.
This is where the math gets very fuzzy and highly contested. TVK boldly claims they command a 28% vote share.
That seems incredibly optimistic for a brand new party.
It is astronomically high for a debut. Usually, a new party in Tamil Nadu is thrilled with 5%. But if we look at the independent analysis, specifically the research paper by Surya B. Aids provided in our sources, it suggests a much more realistic 10% to 15% vote share for TVK.
But even 10% is nothing to sneeze at, right?
In a first-past-the-post electoral system, it is massive. It changes everything. If you strip 10% to 15% of the vote, mostly from the youth demographic who might have otherwise voted DMK, or the angry anti-DMK voters who might have gone to the AIADMK, you you can flip the results in dozens of marginal constituencies.
So even if Vijay doesn't win a majority of seats, he essentially decides who loses.
Exactly. It's the classic spoiler effect. He hurts the DMK by siphoning off the youth vote. He hurts the AI-ADMK by taking the anti-incumbency vote. He is the wild card that completely ruins everyone else's meticulous calculations.
And where does Seaman and the NTK fit into this Block 3 math? Because they're also campaigning as Tamil nationalists.
Siemens Nam Tamil Kachi, or NTK, has a very solid, dedicated 6% to 8% base. They are the pure Tamil nationalists, very ethnocentric. TVK competes directly with them for that anti-establishment pro-Tamil vote.
The TVK is offering a different flavor of it.
Right, TVK offers a much more inclusive version. Seaman is more ethnic-focused and isolationist, whereas Vijay is talking about secular social justice and holding up Ambedkar alongside Tamil figures. Vijay is basically trying to eat Seaman's lunch. He's telling those voters, you can have fierce Tamil pride without being exclusionary.
Fast forwarding to right now. It's February 2026. The campaign is officially on what the sources call a war footing. We have detailed reports from the massive Salem rally on February 13th, and the tone has noticeably shifted.
It has shifted dramatically. The broad philosophical speeches about ideology are mostly gone. Now, it is direct, aggressive attacks on Chief Minister Stalin. It's bare-knuckle boxing at this stage.
He had some pretty sharp singers in that speech.
He did. He mocked the government's constant use of the term SOP, Standard Operating Procedure. He told the crowd it actually stands for Special Operating Procedure for Stalin.
And what about the Payasam comment? That one stood out in the transcripts.
That was quite clever rhetorical framing. He was describing the DMK and BJP relationship. Now, publicly, those two parties act like bitter enemies. But Vijay framed it as a fake conflict. He called it a mix of DMK payasam, which is a very rich, sweet, sugary pudding, and BJP fascism.
Implying that they are secretly working together behind the scenes.
Or at the very least, that they mutually feed off each other's existence to stay relevant. He called their public political fights a UKG versus LKG quarrel, like kindergartners fighting in the sandbox while secretly sharing their snacks. He's trying to position TVK as the only actual genuine opposition in the state.
He's also taking some highly controversial policy stances on the campaign trail. We need to talk about the cash for votes thing.
Yes, this is a classic, deeply pragmatic populist moment. Yeah. Look, we all know cash is illegally distributed in Tamil Nadu elections. It's an open secret. Voters practically expect it in certain areas. Usually a reformist politician will stand up and say, don't take the money, be righteous, vote on principle.
But Vijay didn't say that.
No. Vijay explicitly told the crowds, take the money.
He told them to take the bribes.
He said, take it. It is your own tax money anyway that these corrupt politicians stole from you. Take it back. But when you get in the booth, vote for TVK.
That is extremely bold.
It's subversive. It totally removes the moral guilt from the voter. It says, rob the robber, but vote for the good guy. It turns a political bribe into a taxpayer refund.
He's also pushing incredibly hard on the language issue, which is always explosive in Tamil Nadu.
The Get Out campaign. Yes, he launched a massive signature campaign against the central government's three-language formula. He is vehemently demanding that education be moved from the concurrent list back to the state list. He wants total state autonomy on educational policies.
And that resonates.
It resonates deeply. Anti-Hindi imposition is a core emotional bedrock issue in Tamil Nadu. By taking this hardline stance, he is proving to the electorate that he is just as fiercely Tamil as the DMK claims to be.
So we've talked extensively about the man, the message, and the math. But elections are ultimately won in the trenches, right? What does the actual TVK political machine look like on the ground?
This is the truly surprising part found in the analyses. For a brand new party, they are surprisingly well organized. They are claiming a roster of 15 million members.
If that number is even close to true, that's a literal army.
Even if it's only half true, it's a massive force. But look closer at the internal structure. Their IT wing is led by CTR Nirmal Kumar. He is an ex-AI-ADMK guy. He intimately knows how the political game is played. They are actively bypassing traditional state media, which is often owned or heavily influenced by the big legacy parties, and they are going straight to the voters' phones.
So heavy reliance on WhatsApp, Instagram, YouTube.
Exactly. The modern war room approach. But perhaps more importantly than the digital side, they are driving hard to appoint 70,000 booth agents across the state.
Why does that specific metric matter so much?
Because on election day, if you do not have a dedicated guy sitting inside the polling booth, checking the voter list, and physically ensuring your supporters actually cast their ballots, you lose. It is the unglamorous, gritty plumbing of democracy. You can hold the biggest, flashiest rallies in the world, but if the booth is empty of your agents, you lose the election. The fact that TVK is focusing so heavily on booth agents shows they are deadly serious about actually winning seats, not just drawing admiring crowds. They are actively building the machine.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's just summarize the gravity of the situation. It is February 20th, 2026. The election is imminent. Vijay is attempting something historically difficult.
He is trying to completely break a 50-year entrenched duopoly in a single election cycle. He clearly has the charisma. We see that in the massive crowds. He has the financial backing. But the Karuna tragedy brutally exposed their organizational fragility.
For you, the listener, why should you care about this if you don't live in Tamil Nadu?
Because this election determines the future trajectory of one of India's most crucial economic and industrial powerhouses, and politically. Even if TVK doesn't win an outright majority, they are almost certainly the kingmaker.
If no single party gets the required 118 seats,
then Vijay holds all the keys to the kingdom. His mere presence in the race forces the DMK to rush out welfare payments. It forces the ADMK to desperately seek out new alliances. He has already fundamentally changed the outcome of the election just by entering the arena. He has forced every single player to run faster.
And here's a final provocative thought to leave you with as we close out. Vijay frequently compares himself to the great MGR. But remember, MGR spent years inside the DMK machine before he broke off and started his own party. He was meticulously groomed in politics. He knew how the bureaucracy worked. He knew the files.
Vijay is trying to speedrun that entire decades-long process.
Exactly. In a state that has historically treated its film stars like literal demigods, the ultimate question is this. Will the voter be able to separate the heroic telepathy they see on the screen from the confident administrator needed to actually run the state machinery? Is a massive box office draw the same thing as a massive ballot box draw?
The answer to that lies entirely in the polling booths of 2026. And whatever happens, the historical script of Tamil Nadu is being rewritten as we speak.
We'll definitely be watching how this unfolds. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. See you next time.